morning, YouTube. Lawfully Armed coming to you live from the internet. Location unknown. Destination undiscovered. I gotta remember to be more energetic. See, when you're filming it for the live, or when you're doing it live, you're like, save your thoughts until 3 or 4 people get in here. But then you have to remember the replay crew, and they don't want to suffer through 4 minutes of a fat dude just like breathing. Not to mention that I forget to start these lives with my earbud in, because it lets me hear when I'm watching something. But the audio quality through this earbud sucks compared to just letting the phone mic pick it up. It's 37 right now, temperature, but it's supposed to be pretty damn cold the next few days. Possibility of ice and snow. Been watching the weather, that big storm they're worried about coming through the southeast and looking up towards like Maryland area. I'm right through the center line of that worst of it. I'm counting on that it's not been terribly bitter the past few days, and our ground temperature is not sufficient to maintain it. I mean, bridges and overpasses could get bad in a hurry, but most of the surface roads, it need to be a substantial amount of precipitation over a long period of time to accumulate enough to get shitty. If you're just tuning in, as the title suggests, I'm moving. Since this channel is somewhat turned into an anonymous, but fairly intimate, identity anonymous life, pretty forthcoming vlog channel in a sense. Just kind of the ins and outs of my daily interactions and lived experiences. A couple months ago, the better half and I guess that's not the right term anymore, decided to hang up our hats, call it quits, mutually split. So we just kind of have distantly cohabitated to get through the holidays and kind of figure out living arrangements. And so in the interim, I'm moving back in with my folks while I attempt to pile up some money and figure out a future abode. Probably provide an opportunity for more of these impromptu driving chats. It'll be a little bit longer commute to work every day. Kind of mess up the morning routine. Yeah. See if I can get past this farm equipment. I can't tell, but by the logo, I think that's RGK762. Hello, if that is you. If it's not you, apologies. hi to whoever is commenting. When I get to a spot where I can squint to the comments better and not harm myself or someone else in the oncoming traffic, I will do so. Thank you all for being my company. Anybody seen or heard anything out of Pat Riot in the last 48 hours? Besides where he dropped a picture of a birthday present for his kid in the TMT chat on Discord. At the comments. You're welcome. Sub for sub. Still stay in Arkansas. Yeah, I plan to still stay in Arkansas. I was talking to a friend the other day that lives in Colorado now, and he was encouraging me, like, don't get stuck. I think a bunch of people stay stuck in hometown. They don't know any better. And like, Arkansas is poor. You know, the cost of living's low, but so are the wages. He's like, you got nothing tying you down, man. Like, go live a little, explore. Like, yeah, I'd like to see some places, see some things. You know, maybe meet some people. You know, ACR is plotting to meet up in the spring. Some other opportunities like that. Wouldn't pass those up. I've spent nigh 13 years trying to be the Rock. You know, I've never been gainfully employed, but I have stayed consistently employed. You know, she job hops every few years. Generally for the betterment, but it's always an unknown. You know, I'm not a greener pastures guy. I'm a freeze. Lock it down. Go with what I know. So I had always, you know, for fear of us ending up homeless or something, always just stuck it out. And then if and when I took vacation time, it was, you know, I banked it in case somebody was sick or an emergency came up, or to take off for a school program or something like that. So I kind of think I'm gonna like live selfish this year. I'm gonna do some stuff for me. Looking back on it, I kind of squandered my 20s and getting into my 30s. I don't have a whole lot to show for it except for a whole bunch of relationship experience. So I want to do some sightseeing. I want to hike some miles, get out and sniff some gunpowder, gun smoke. Run the miles up on this body before I can't use it anymore and eventually won't need it anymore. my perspective on prepping has changed too. Regardless of how much or little you have, and I mean monetarily also as far as living space, some people live in a 2-bedroom apartment and some people have 20 acres and a farm stand and the goal, At the end of the day, it's a whole lot of heaping shit up. And you need that stuff, If anything ever happened, you couldn't replace that. This moving serving as somewhat of an exercise has proved to me that piling all that shit up, if you ever did have to bug out or leave, like if you had not achieved TMTs like what he calls his level 4 prepping, where you do have the Alamo, you've got your however many acres and you've got your fully staffed compound, and this is where you're making your stand, your stead. If you're anything less than that, you're just spending time and money heaping up shit you're going to leave behind. So I think as far as prepping goes, I'm going to worry about the absolute bare necessities. More knowledge, less shit. I think I could realistically have 60, 90 days of prepared food and maybe a couple months of dried beans and rice and that sort of stuff. And I don't know, beyond that I'm going to fret about it too much anymore. I think by then it'll either be over, I'll be over, or there'll be a whole new world to inhabit. So I'm just not going to fixate and worry about it anymore, man. Live and let live. Because I feel like we just moved from threat of the week, story of the week thing to be freaked out about, and it's more of the same. This is not me trying to be an ostrich and bury my head in the sand, to being aware of things. I'll always be cognizant, but realistically, I can only get up there and do so many weekly live chats worrying about the Terrys. Okay, I'm not going to the mall. I already wasn't going to the mall. So I can't stress about the Terrys maybe doing something at a mall or insert semi-public gun-free zone here. I just can't fret about it, Either you're turned on or you're not at this point, and if you just walk around those places oblivious, I can't help you. And all the fear mongering about the AI. I mean, that's literally the workforce implication is not any different than any sort of automation that we have seen. It may be a quicker advancement, but that's the same thing that everybody has been talking about. Before I was an adult, they were telling us in junior high and high school that automation was gonna take jobs, And if it wasn't automation, it was the Mexicans. They're taking our jobs. The meme from South Park. So pivot? I don't know. I know it's cold. That's like the learn to code meme. They told all the guys to learn to code, and even that doesn't make sense now because they've got foreign workers doing that for cheap. Bring back manufacturing. And even if we bring it back to the United States, I don't know, be the guy that programs robots, be the guy that welds the robots, be the guy that, I think the advancement in the technology for AI and robots is probably happening now at an accelerated, like orders of magnitude. But I think the widespread implementation of it in the workplace, in the medical field, in the factories, I think all that stuff takes time. Because all those companies are beholden to shareholders, and they're looking at the next quarter more immediately than they're looking at 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And just in the medical field, look at how, I don't know how it is for y'all, where in your individual locations, but we're at a point where even our level 1 hospitals don't have everything. And so you have to go see a specialist, or you have to wait for somebody to come into town, or you have to get a referral to go somewhere 50 or 75 miles away to get a special procedure done, or to use a specific piece of machinery or whatever. Try and not be. Anyway, so what makes you think that those same hospitals next year are going to have AI robot phlebotomists? That's not going to happen. It's not. And I understand, blowing the whistle and making people aware of it now, give them a head start. Calm down. This is just, I'm one guy whining to the internet like everybody else. So if you value my opinion, if you feel the same way, cool. If you don't, that's fine too. We can agree to disagree. I'm not college educated. I don't have a degree in any field that makes me an expert. But I meet a lot of people that are college educated and that are in lots of different walks of life. A lot of them that are in positions that stand to be replaced, and they're not freaking out about it. I don't think it's what Crash and Kev said. I don't think it's anywhere near what they say it is. I think everybody's just, we're all in the headspace, like the echo chamber thinks that we're living in some dystopian future already. Because it's easy to pick a movie trope and then run with it. That's what we're living in right now. The left thinks they're somewhere between Handmaid's Tale and Schindler's List, and the right libertarian people think that we're 1984 / Elysium / Soylent Green or something. People aren't buying the Beyond Meat. Their stock tanked. That shit's gonna go away. It's not profitable. Now they may find sneaky ways to work bugs and shit into your grains and things, because hell, your Cliff Bars and shit, when you buy those now, they already have to put in they have to warn you that a certain amount of bugs and shit can get into that when they make them. So they'll find ways to slip them by. Like the FDA will allow a certain percentage. Hell, may encourage it at some point. And they'll label it as something. They'll come up with some name for it. You know, the way they do like the artificial sweeteners, the way they got 7 names for sugar. They'll find organic something protein or whatever. They'll find some way to like not tell you that it's ground up cockroaches. But that's just where you have to be an informed consumer. If you're going to buy some pre-made product from the grocery store, if you don't read the nutrition facts to the labels, then you don't know, you don't care. But I don't think that's coming in this administration. Not while we're simultaneously kicking out food dyes and all the bad stuff. Quit panicking is what I'm saying. Breathe. Allow yourself a chance to breathe. Embrace nature. We hadn't ruined it all yet. All you 70s, 80s kids that they had freaked out that the world was going to end from acid rain. It didn't. So anyways, that's what I think about that. Thank y'all for being here. Might be back later, might not. Stay lawfully armed.